Here is my review and recap of The Last of Us Episode 3 of Season 1. It did get renewed for a Season 2. All right, now this is interesting. You would think that by all of the reviews online that this is the greatest hour of television that has been created in decades. It's amazing. It's off the charts. It's Oscar-worthy. And they don't do the Oscars for TV shows. Know that it is Emmy-winning, all right? And I do believe they might be nominated for an Emmy for supporting actor in a show, especially with Nick Offerman. So here's what I will tell you about this episode. And there are going to be spoilers in this one because I can't get around the story without talking about spoilers. And it doesn't matter because this is a one-off, completely irrelevant episode to the overall story arc of The Last of Us. So here's what happened. First of all, here's what I will tell you. If you are gay during the apocalypse, you have a much better chance of survival. Way better than heterosexual people. That has been made very clear by both The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. In this episode, we do get to see Bill and Frank, who were in the game. But we didn't get their backstory in the game like we did here. And I told you in the last episode, they can't just go from building to building and gather stuff, that there's going to have to be some expansion on the story if they're going to make this worth it. And they do go about expanding the story in this episode, but it was completely pointless at the end of the day. Bill and Frank, the whole point of this episode is that the writers went into the writer's room and said, here's what we need to do. We need to have representation in this episode, and we're going to make these two guys gay. They weren't in the game, or there was no hint of it, but we're going to make them gay here, and we're going to make the whole episode about their relationship. That's what this whole episode was. It was Brokeback Mountain for The Last of Us. And the acting was phenomenal, but it did have one of the worst lines in television I've seen in a while. There was a one time Frank was talking with Bill, and Bill was using the piano, and he was doing this song, and it was supposedly very emotional, for Frank. And he looks at Bill and says, "Who was the girl?" And Bill says, "There was no girl." And it was like, oh my gosh. And then they go on to have their relationship for the whole hour of the episode, which was a complete waste. You have to show the relationship with Joel and Ellie grow. Because if you know how the first game ends, and we're going to get to the end of this season, the payoff is not going to work if you don't show that growth and relationship between Joel and Ellie. And there was no character growth between the two of them in this episode. Not until the very end, and it was a very small scene. And, well, there was a little bit at the beginning and just a little bit at the end. But the whole episode it had to be a way to get Joel and Ellie armed. Now, they have a lot to explain and a lot to do, and this is how you waste one whole hour of this overall story. And I even looked at my wife while we were watching this, and I said, I don't care if this was a heterosexual relationship with two of the characters with the game and they decided to expand the story this way. It doesn't work. It's a complete throwaway episode. It does not matter in the overall story arc of The Last of Us. So I thought this was a waste. I was really, the acting was phenomenal. It was really well directed, but it was a complete waste of the story. They need to move it forward. They cannot have a whole hour devoted to something like this if you're going to flesh out this world and what happened, especially in a limited series like this. All right, what did you guys think of this episode? I am eager to hear what other people thought. We will see you on the next review.